The very last processing bit that I want to go over for today is bringing back random. So when you guys did your 20th century project, if you wanted to use lines and you wanted to fill up a space, and you would use random for one X location and random for the other X point of the line, you would always get this kind of web effect because the two randoms would never generating the same number. But now that we know about variables, we could get these two randoms to generate the same number by making a variable equal random and then putting that variable into this spot. If you want to do that, if you want to have a variable equal random, you do have to do one step a little bit different. So I'm going to take this and put it into processing. All right, so this is how you would have done it for the 20th century, right? We would have in our X location, we have random the entire width, and then we have a Y that is up at the top. Then we have a random for the second X location that is the full width. And then I have it at the bottom, height. Maybe you wouldn't have used height, maybe you would have put 500 in here. So I want instead for the two randoms to always pull the same number. So if you're thinking, well, I'll make a variable and I'll have it equal random, that's what seems logical. First of all, do you remember when we put in random? So we did the print ln and we put in random 10, let's say. And now I'm going to press play here right after I put that there. And the numbers that I'm going to see will generate down here. I don't care about that. They're all decimals. So if I'm going to have a variable that will equal random, it has to be of the float type. So float, and what shall we call this? How about rand equals random width. All right, so I have a variable that's going to equal random, and my argument I'm giving random is width. And now I could get rid of this and instead put my one variable, so it's just one time calling something that's random and playing, and let's see what happens. It doesn't work. Now, if we were in the classroom, I would be asking you, why do you think it doesn't work? What does random need to do? This random was still working. This random was giving me different numbers. It doesn't work because remember I mentioned that up here, this processing only calls one time. It just reads this once. So every time I open this, that line should be in a different location because every time it pulls from, it opens, it's giving me a different random spot, but it only reads this code once. And then it goes through, so it says, oh, cool, you have this variable random. Well, when we open it up one time, I pulled the number 6. And so that's what I'm going to put in. And then it goes back and it puts 6. And then it goes back and it puts 6. So if you want to have a variable that equals random, this random part has to be in the draw. So there are two ways you can do it. Remember how I was emphasizing that this is step 1 and step 2 together? Well, we could split this up again. So I could do that up at the top, and then down in my draw, I could have random ran, so I could declare it in the draw. So that way I've initialized it. I've said I'm using a variable float type and I'm going to call it ran. That part only needs to run once, and that's up here. But then this part, the part that needs to keep changing because it's in the draw, could be down here. So I've gone back to step 1 and step 2 being separated. And now it works. The other way I could do it is I could go back to the method of step 1 and step 2 being combined, but just put the entire thing in the draw. This is the other way, and they both will work. Okay, so that is in part why I kept emphasizing we keep that this is actually 2 steps together, because at times you may still want to separate them, Or if you want to keep them together, just remember this whole equation, step 1 and step 2, needs to be in the draw. All right, so that's all there is for this one. You don't have to have a practice. I have it there on the PowerPoint if you need to have a reference going back to the code.